Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and Lain podcast, presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and Lain. Almost every episode that we have done lately, Mac, which, by the way, 3 in a row, holler, I have had to ask you what day it is because I think most people can relate to me. The week between Christmas and New Year's, I don't know what day it is. No. I don't know what time it is.
No.
I don't know what's happening. And that's how I feel right now, Mac.
Well, you look great. You sound better. And we're here. We've made it.
Healed, which is good.
That's right. That's all that matters. And really, I'm right there with you. The only way I know what time it is isn't because of even the sun, because it's always like nasty outside right now. Yeah. It is when Amelia starts crying or whining. I kind of go through a checklist like, okay, could it be time to eat something? No. Okay, it must be time for a nap. So it's probably about midday. And then you just kind of figure it out. You just kind of figure it out.
That's the only way we know these days is what the babies are doing.
These younglings, they get after it. But I'm excited, KG, because 3 days of content. It's been so much fun. And I've got to brag on ourselves for just a moment here because I've been in Sumter. I live in Columbia. I'm just going to all these different things. We were at a couple of different places. One, we were at a department store. Not going to say where, but I'll say where. I don't care. Ace Hardware. We're at Ace Hardware. Love Ace Hardware. There's a massive one in Sumter. It's huge. And KG, I think I had a Clemson shirt on, which is, I'm asking for stuff, but
shocking.
I probably talked to 30 people and half of them, most Clemson, there was a handful of Florida State, a couple of Carolina, NC State in there. And almost more than half of them, like, we love your podcast. We love listening, love watching. So I was like, let's go. Thank you for tuning in. So that was fun. And then I go to church, which is in Columbia, for candlelight service.
Yeah.
Which Amelia did great. And I know Jacob did great the other day when y'all went to church. So that's a big deal. And this sweet couple comes up to me. So shout out to you guys. And they say, hey, EMAC, we're so-and-so. We're Clemson grads. Love the podcast. Listen and watch it all the time. So big shout out to you guys. We appreciate your support. And the 3-day straight of content, KG, we're rolling. It feels good.
That's right. Mac, those are the stories we love to hear. Warms your heart, especially this time of year. So keep it coming. I want to go back to something. You talked to 30 different people when you were at Ace Hardware?
It was, listen, my grandmother was literally like making fun of me. She was like, Eric, we have to go. I'm like, Nana, calm down. I need to talk to these people. It was so fun.
Dang, and then, Nana said we're out.
I know, she said, we got to go. Like, what are we doing? And then I'm literally walking out of the store. And again, I know that this is going to stop one day. Some people don't like it. Some people love it. I know it's going to stop, so I try to embrace it and always talk to people. I'm walking out, and I think I'm in the clear. And this guy is just like, EMAC! As I'm walking, it's like a sniper. It gets me. I'm like, yo, what's up? Talk for 5 more minutes. Everybody's in the car, like, pissed. Like ready to go home. I'm like, I'm coming.
This guy.
So it was fun. It was fun. It was
that
cool to see
is so funny. I cannot. I'm just no. I can't. I can actually perfectly imagine you doing this in Ace Hardware. But wow, that's amazing, man.
The first 2 were Knowles too, so I was just like, hey, all right, let's go. We're rolling.
Yeah,
we're rolling.
And you're an honorary Knoll. We both are this season. Have been at least.
That's what we've been told.
Yes, that's what we've been told. Speaking of the Knowles, okay, we've done every episode. If you missed our NC State episode, which they play today, if you're listening right now as this episode comes out. And then if you missed our Clemson episode, go back and listen to those. Those have been doing great right after Christmas, people wanting to talk some football. We love that. And now it is time for the one bowl game that we have yet to preview, and that is the Orange Bowl. Mac, you said it earlier that this game has flipped to a 19-point spread.
God knows.
Wow. This game is Saturday, December 30th, 4 p.m. on ESPN. Number 6, Georgia versus number 5, Florida State, and Georgia's a 19-point favorite. So much of that is because of the opt-outs. Before we get into the game, get into the opt-outs, what that's going to mean, what we expect to happen, Mac was able to sit down with a really cool guest for this episode. Mac, tell us about him.
Yeah, it was really fun. And, what's interesting is I'm reaching out to Derek Satterfield, my guy, and I'm saying, hey, Coach Norvell probably doesn't want to talk right now, and I get it. Is there anybody else we can talk to? Because I'm sure he has a ton going on. He's like, well, do you want to talk to either of the coordinators? I was like, really? Coordinators? I didn't know if that would be on the table. He said, anybody in the program is on the table. And I said, wow,
Woo.
that's amazing. So with that being said, I had to talk to one of the best defenses in the entire country, their fearless leader, Coach Fuller, and really enjoyed this conversation. He's a passionate guy. Really love what he said about Coach Norvell at the end of the episode, and just kind of how he energizes everybody and gets them going. So big shout out to Derek. Big shout out to Coach Fuller in the middle of his meetings. KG, you would have loved it. We literally finished the interview, and sometimes we kind of chit chat a little bit and whatever. He said, "All right, big dog, got to go back to work."
That's
got
awesome.
up and walked away, and I'm like sitting in an empty room by myself, looking around like, "Okay, see ya." It was so funny. It was so funny. Busy man. He's got his hands full, but excited to see his plan. So real quick, let's have a message from Ingles and then hear from Coach Fuller. What's up, guys? Merry Christmas, and hope you have an awesome holiday season. We have some really exciting news because of our friends over at Ingles. KG and I really feel great about giving back to the community. We want to do that. We have that urge, and these guys have stepped up huge. So massive shout out to Ingles. We are partnering with them to feed over 100 families this holiday season. We're going to do a bunch of gift cards, giving it out to the community, to various people, and they have stepped up huge to match us in that effort in the upstate, KG.
That's right, Mac. Partnering with Ingles, we are so excited to be able to help support Clemson Community Care, the Dream Center, and Clemson's Paw Pantry this holiday season. If you want to find out more about these amazing organizations, we will link their information below. Wherever you're watching this, we'll have some link to this post, so look for it. We would encourage you to also give back to your community this year in whatever way you can. Doesn't necessarily have to be to these organizations. It can be, $1, $5, whatever it is. That's what we hope you'll get from this. So God bless and happy holidays from Gramlich and Mac Lain.
Coach, welcome into the podcast, man. Really appreciate your time. First, just have to start. How was Christmas? I imagine you guys probably had like a Tuesday or Monday practice on Christmas.
We did, actually, Christmas was our travel day.
Oh, so, there you go. So even better.
We had basically a full week, and then everything for those leading up days. We cut the guys free. We have so many guys from around South Florida. So really, we had the charter leave Tallahassee on Christmas about 4:00, but most of the guys actually met us down here at the bowl site. So it was not a better way to spend Christmas than flying down to a bowl.
That's right. That's right. It's always a nerve-wracking thing to me. I remember my years as when we were going to bowl games, and when Coach would give us the option, it was always like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Does everybody get there in one piece? So I'm sure that was a weird time. And actually, one of my roommates got in a crash. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It was scary.
I think the biggest question is, oh, great, we get the drive. What's that check look like?
Right. That's right. Now we're talking. Well, Coach, man, there's one thing about this team that has been just so exciting to watch all year, and it's really been your defense. So consistent, so attacking, so aggressive. Just, kind of start big picture there. What have you seen from your group all year long, and how did you get to this point of 13-0 and playing in an Orange Bowl?
Yeah, Eric, it's as you guys know, you've been following us since we've been here, and it's been a road that we've traveled, and we haven't taken shortcuts, and we've traveled the long road, but we knew it was the right road. Just it comes down to even two years ago. I remember our guys jumping the fence, the facility at night, just trying to get extra work in, and there's just so many stories that with backdrops against these players, and from the Kalen Deloches to you go down the road, and whether it's guys that have been with us for 1 year or guys that have been with us for 4 years. And just really, there's one word that I put in front of those guys every day we've been together this year, and it's been the word together. And I thought they've epitomized that, just how they've played connected football and just how they've really gone about their business. I've loved Friday nights before games in the hotel. I've loved Saturdays at halftime. I've loved just all of it because we do have a group that really pulled together, and they really came up through the other side of this thing. And just proud of, there's so many individuals, there's so many collective moments. And there's guys that aren't here right now that were, the Jamie Robinsons, the Jermaine Johnsons, the Keir Thomases. There's just so many names that have had so many great parts to this team as we've moved forward here.
No question. I think you've been, man, blessed. Obviously, you developed these leaders, but you've been blessed with some great leaders. And just even talking with them at Senior Bowls, going through the NFL process after the fact, and hearing their seminal story about how they came there and how they left better men and better players is yeah, it's inspiring, and it's fun to hear that from guys who live it and go through it each and every day. And something else you said there, just of the togetherness and growing. And I don't think there was any bigger of an epitome than that ACC championship game where there was a lot of adversity and the team had to face it. And man, that defense stood so tall against one of the most explosive teams in the league. You get the ball back, you create chaos, you create tackles for loss. That to me was the perfect defensive game. It had to be fun going through it.
Yeah, I mean, just when your best was needed, we need to be at our best. And, these guys have done a great job. I mean, from game one, shoot, I go back to the first play of the game, Eric. We busted a wheel route. Next thing you know, it's 1st and goal at the shadow of our goal line. Our guys have a 4th down stop against LSU to, bring it through the whole 12-game season to that championship game. And, I mean, our guys weren't going to be denied. I don't care where you put that ball down that night. It didn't matter. It could have been 1st and goal from the 1 to win and our guys were going to find a way. And just the swagger that they've earned. And I've told them about that for years. It's like we can wake up and wear the wristbands and wear the nice unis and call it swagger, but that's earned. It's earned through sweat. It's earned through selflessness.
Yeah.
It's, our guys, this is how Florida State's supposed to play defense around here.
Yeah, no. And that's, it felt like one of those things where when those down years were occurring, it felt like that was the biggest piece missing. Like when I played, I mean, we see that spear walking in and it's like, oh, okay, we know this defense is coming to play. And that's kind of where it feels like it is now. And referencing that first game, and I don't know, it felt like LSU just thought they could bully you and they couldn't. I mean, they tried and they just absolutely couldn't. You just stood up tall and, wouldn't allow them in the end zone. And then that was a trend all year long. Just people cannot score on you guys. Where does that mentality come from? I'm sure it starts with you, but trickles down.
Yeah, I mean, it starts in January. It starts with the workouts. It starts with the standards. It'd be easy for me to say, well, it's just because our goal line periods are that superb. I mean, yes, sure, that's part of it too. But like, why do you have success? Well, you have success because of how you do things every day in every way and everything that you do constantly. And when you do it right, you do it better the next day. And like, that's how you build consistency. And it, you've played. I mean, there's, you can fake this stuff, but when you get down to it and it's real time and you got to go, the real is real. And you got to earn that. And that's earned through everyday work. And the more you have of those type of people, we had 21 guys that played over 200 snaps for us on defense. So, there's some great names out there that were all league players, all Americans. But there are also some guys that were the 21st or 20th guy that played 200 snaps that without them, I don't know if we're where we are now.
Right.
And, but definitely we've done, I mean, unfortunately as a coach, you think about the touchdowns you gave up down
That's
there.
right.
What I mean? We still get that PI against Clemson that we gave them which I'm still trying to figure out. It is what it is.
That's
what I mean?
right.
Oh, we had him stop, but on the Y pop play, Tatum was in good position, but I guess not good enough. But
that's right.
We'll be better next time, I promise.
No question. Well, you mentioned all those guys that have played so many snaps, and you're going to need a handful of them, right? Just with the way the world is now, and guys moving on and not playing in this bowl game. Thankfully, a lot of defensive guys are. But there are some pieces that are going to be a little bit newer for people who maybe have tuned into Florida State sporadically this year. What have you seen from them? Because I'm always fascinated in the bowl game. You have more prep for this one game than any game outside of the opener, right? You've got those 15 practices if you take full advantage of all those guys. What have you seen from who will be playing in this game? And maybe that gets you excited, whether for just this game or for the future going into next year, and maybe guys that are in roles that they wouldn't have been without guys moving on.
I think when the narrative of these bowl games sometimes is building for the future, right? But I think you're building for the future every dang day. I mean, like that's it. I don't think you ever want to get there with a player be like, I've tried to get you ready. Now it's your turn. Well, it's your turn yesterday. And I think that's how you got to kind of build that thing. And when the moment comes, obviously I'm not naive to think there's guys that might get more playing time than maybe they got in the first 13 games. But they're prepared for the moment because you try to prepare them for the moment throughout the whole journey. Doesn't mean they're all ready. Doesn't mean they all took advantage of all that time. And that's the proof. Sometimes it happens that if you did take a shortcut here and there, unfortunately it just gives an opportunity for maybe you not to maximize the opportunity that's in front of you. But we've got one of the greatest pleasures I have from this year are the guys that haven't played, because I really feel, I mean, I thought it was a really good recruiting class. Now, really, Conrad Hussey is the only one that really played snaps. Blake Nicholson played some on special teams. Juice Cryer played some on special teams. But we got another group, about 6 or 7 of those guys that just haven't played much because we had an older team. But, yeah, there are opportunities coming, and it's coming fast. And it's coming in this thing we call the Orange Bowl.
That's right.
So I'm fired up, man. I told the coaches, I say, you better embrace the dang thing, because they're out there and they're ours and they're playing and they got the spirit on their helmet, and the expectation, the standard is still the same. And, it's time for us to go.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And I understand that mentality. We got to go to work with what we got, who we got, and let's go play the game. They're keeping score, I hear. And so, you try to keep them out of that thing. One guy in particular that, I keep mentioning that ACC championship game. Just, again, it was this perfect, just game in my eyes, the way you guys played. And 55, I mean, he had obviously a great season all year. And I think it's harder to analyze that just because you don't really know what you're looking at, because he's absorbing double teams. He's demanding double teams. And a lot of people say, oh, well, this guy's getting blocked. Yeah, well, it's taken 2.5 people to do it. But that game, he ignited, and TFL, sacks, his burst, his speed was all on display. And, we get to see that again one more time for you guys here. What has Braden Fisk meant to this team, and how has he, I guess, stepped up to be a leader and maybe wasn't quite comfortable doing that at first?
Yeah, Eric, I love that you mentioned the unnotable successes that aren't noted for some of these guys. And that just comes, that's in life, right? You can work your butt off and do everything right, and maybe things don't fall your way and you don't get the news out there. You don't get the headlines and you don't get those things. Some guys just stop, right? I didn't get my raise. I didn't get my deal. I didn't get my press clippings. I didn't get my award, and they stop. And I think it's, as we play, our corners, they play a dynamite game, have one pass breakup, no tackles, and nobody's talking about it. Right. But we've got to reward that. Braden Fisk, Jared Verse was dealing with that. Early on, he didn't have great numbers in the first 3-4 games. But I'm sitting there and we're congratulating him on the way he's playing, because it's going to show up, because you're going to have the Braden Fisk championship game that he's going to remember for the rest of his life. It's what it is.
That's right.
From the first play, the TFL to the sacks. And now everybody's like, look at this guy.
Right.
He's been playing like that all year. And, he was like that in Kalamazoo when we flew there, and I slept in that dang airport to finally meet him in a diner that next morning. Hey, because if you know Kalamazoo, that rent-a-car center, they're not open past lunch. In case you go there.
I have, and it's miserable. Yes. We almost just drove to Detroit. That's what we almost had to do, but it worked out.
I wasn't, because Braden was there. I wasn't going anywhere
else. You had to wait for him. You had to wait for
whatever
him.
it is.
I love
I'm that guy standing outside of the diner with my suitcase in hand. He's looking at me like, what are you going to give me? I'm like, no, this is my stuff.
Right. Yeah. But, we can talk. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
That suitcase is actually mine. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. Well, Coach, last one. We'll get you out of here. Appreciate your time. Reading and you're preparing for this game, seeing all the different things, and hearing from Coach Norvell about how these last couple of weeks have just been extremely difficult because of the situation and because of you guys, I think quite unfairly, unjustly, whatever word you want to use, being left out of the college football playoff. And I think he says that because of, number one, how much he loves Florida State, how much he loves that university, his players, but also his love for the game and how passionate he is about football. Working for a guy like that, does he just make everybody better? Is his energy infectious? Because I've seen it in small slivers. You're around him every day. What makes him so special, and what makes him so, I guess, easy, if that's the right answer, to coach for?
His passion for improvement daily. It doesn't end. And whether we're landing the plane, he's helping taking luggage off of it, or he's putting together the best route he can on 3rd and 12. You know what I mean? It's all the same to him. And recruiting, relationships, it's inspirational working with him. When I was at Marshall and he called me when I was at Memphis and I get off the phone with him, I told my wife, Hope, I said, I need to work with him. And thank goodness he made that decision. And,
wow.
It's just you envision working with people, and you envision that they're constantly pushing you to be your best every day. And then when you push them in the instances, they don't push back. They love that and they want it. And I think that's what energized me every dang day. Like just to see his consistency, his drive, his passion for getting better, for people, for relationships. Like, it makes everybody better. And you know what? He's so dang competitive that when you give it back to him, he loves it. And I think that's what this thing is all about, right? We just happen to coach football. That could be any corporation or whatever it is. And just to live every damn day like that. And I don't care if it's Christmas Day and we're traveling, or it's the bowl game, it's championship game, it's getting ready for whatever it is, and so when these things and opportunities come, it's like, no, I'm aligned with this man. Like just that, because I know like this is what I pictured what it's supposed to look like at major Division I college football. Listen, we got helpers for everything. We got assistants, quality controls, all that stuff. But as the leader, if you're not willing to do it all at your best, then you're failing. And he's willing to check those boxes and cross those T's and dot those I's because he's a winner.
I love that. I lied for you. I do have one more. And just about the game briefly, what will it take to get this W? Because I don't know if you look at, who's an underdog, who's what. There's a lot of chatter, and I'm sure you've heard it, but a lot of people that aren't believing. What will it take for this Noles team to get it done?
We just got to go play our brand of football. And, we've shown – over the years, I mean, this is a football program now. I mean, we've won 19 games in a row. This is not like, just, hey, I mean, we played some good people and we played our best when our best has been needed. And, so, the two teams are still going to be on that field. And, I wholeheartedly am all in on our football team. And, we do exactly, we put the work in. We've earned the right to be here. We've earned the right to play really good football. And, this thing's going to come down to just the passion it takes to play better than them. And it's never been about the opponent here. And that's probably why, over the last 2 years, especially, regardless of who we played, we've been pretty consistent. There's sometimes that we've had to score more points. There's sometimes that we've had to hold them to limited possessions or limited points. We've won games on offense and defense and special teams around here. And this has been a team. This is not a program that, this team is just, they're going to outscore you. We play special teams.
Right.
We recruit. We play defense. We score points. And I think when you have a full team now, the rosters are going to be probably a little bit different, but it's still the same leadership here and it's still the same quality of people. And I'll put our team up against anybody in the country.
There you go. Well, I can't wait to be there. Can't wait to see it, brother. Thank you for your time and good luck on Saturday.
Appreciate it, Eric. Go Noles.
Thanks again to Coach Fuller for joining us here on the show. We appreciate it because we know, Mac, as you mentioned, they are so busy. They're having meetings, we're doing all this, and they're having to deal with players just opting out willy-nilly, whenever, etc. We have basically just yesterday, the day before, depending what day you're listening, you had Tate Rodemaker. I think it was on Christmas Day that came out, that he was opting out.
Surprise!
And then most recently, Keon Coleman officially out, but I think we all kind of knew that one.
Yeah.
So, Mac, here, just for fun, this is from TomahawkNation.com. 21 players have opted out of the game, either due to transferring or declaring for the NFL draft for FSU. Is that a record?
Feels like it's got to be close. Feels like it's
at least
close.
Maybe for a New Year's 6, I would say. And then of course, here are the starters that are opting out: Tate Rodemaker, who's in the transfer portal, Trey Benson, Jaheim Bell, Jared Verse, Fabian Lovett, Akeem Dent, DJ Lundy, Keon Coleman, and Johnny Wilson. Lawrence Toafili is unavailable due to injury, but he is returning to FSU. And then I saw this stat, Mac, and this really blew my mind. I know Florida State fans would be familiar with Corey Clark on Twitter. He does a lot of FSU stuff. He tweeted this: of the 57 touchdowns the Florida State offense scored in 2023, the players on the updated depth chart have accounted for 8. 8. It's truly unprecedented. And there's so much with FSU's season this year that's been unprecedented.
Yeah.
When you have a Power 5 champion getting left out of the playoff, blah, 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 of course. But now we've never seen, at least in this big of a bowl game, that I'm remembering a team this depleted
Right.
play a team that really doesn't have that many opt-outs. Brock Bowers isn't there, so we don't think he's playing because of injury, but that's kind of what worries me, Mac. It's not just the FSU opt-outs, it's the fact that Georgia doesn't really have anybody opting out.
Right. Right. Yeah, which is, it's interesting. And I think it's interesting for a couple of reasons. And quite frankly, Florida State fans, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. 21 players in the comments on Twitter, hit us up, whatever. But how does that make you feel? Because I think this is a little bit of a new day and age where, it's business decision, and, some people understand it. Some people don't.
But in some ways, Mac, I think this is also, like I said, unprecedented, where some of these guys, I mean, if Florida State had lost a game, if they had lost that Clemson game or something, and then they're left out, do they try to go prove a point in the Orange Bowl? Or are they just so mad and upset and, let down that they say, we're out? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. And I think I've got to think that I would want to prove a point. And again, I know that my mindset is different. And we've talked about this a bunch of different things, a bunch of different ways because of, again, circumstances. I've never been in a position where I was a potential first-round draft pick or a lock to be a first-round draft pick and then had a relative meaningless game in front of me. I've never had that happen. I cannot put myself in those shoes and try to pretend what I would do. But also in the back of my head, I love this game that is college football. I loved my university. I love the logo on my helmet. And the last time that I ever wore it, I cried, not because we lost, but because I would never put that on again. And so I couldn't imagine willingly taking that opportunity away. And so that's why it's difficult for me to see this. And on top of these people that have nothing to do with the game of football told you weren't good enough and you can't win a national championship. I would want my team to come together, win that game, be undefeated, and just give middle fingers to everybody. That's what I would want. That's how I would want to play. Yeah. And so I don't know. That's just, I wish I saw that because number one, this game could have been amazing from just and it still might be, who knows? But just a brand perspective and great teams. You've got a team that was, 29 wins straight, back-to-back natties, and come up short in a championship game against Alabama. You've got another team in Florida State that has won 19 in a row. These guys are on fire. I mean, playing at such a high level, all the excitement that should be there, I feel like because of some of these opt-outs, and Georgia has some too, but we cover the Noles. And it's just like, okay, let's see what happens. And again, maybe the game's fantastic, and at the end of the night and sometime in January, we do an episode and we're jacked up and excited about it. But there is kind of the man, this stinks, aspect too for me that, just because all these guys aren't playing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Mike. I think it's also different for Georgia because they lost a championship game. So in order to win something, they won the SEC East, I guess. But in order to win a championship, they need to win this game. Yeah. Florida State they already won a championship.
Right.
So you already have that feeling. You already have a trophy. You already are getting a ring, that kind of thing. And then you have this game. So it's more of a letdown spot for Florida State. All that being said, Mac, if you do this, you would truly, utterly and completely shock the world, which would be crazy and would be just an amazing story. You are a 19-point underdog. There are so many. I was looking at the depth chart for this game, and we've covered Florida State all year, and there are so many, specifically offensively, so many names I didn't know. A lot of the defensive guys are there. Fisk, Bethune, Tatum. Those guys are playing, so that's a good sign for the defense. Of course, Jared Verse is not. But offensively is what worries me, Mac. When you have Brock Glenn, the freshman who really struggled against Louisville, and then you just don't have many of your proven playmakers. Right. The offense worries me in this game.
Right. And on top of, what it looked like when you did have those guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right.
It wasn't great. We had to run Wildcat, and that was our best play. And by the way, that guy can't play because he's hurt. And so you're just like, whew. You hope there's some magic there because, again, I think Coach Norvell is one of the best play callers in college football. Obviously, it's how he got to where he is. He's very good at that. I think he has a great, plan of attack. And he and Alex Atkins, I have to imagine it's going to look different than what it did against Louisville because, number one, those guys aren't there. Number two, you've had all this time to prepare and you know who the guy is. Like it's got to be.
But Mac, how
Glenn
long
there.
were they prepping with Rodemaker? That's what I
See,
wonder.
that's interesting too. And I want to reflip this to you. I had this conversation on radio. I'd like to have it here again. What do you think on the timing of that? I mean, the fact that he waited so long, I just don't understand. But like, okay, did it take other people coming in? Did it take all these whisperings, or did you already know about that? And then you want to prove, I just don't know. The timing of it to me is bizarre.
It's all messed up because the timing of the transfer portal itself is a disaster.
Yes.
And they have to do it this way, at least right now, because of the academic calendar, but it's so ridiculous. Yeah. But I just feel like you've got to make up your mind earlier. Yeah. Like, I get you're trying to do what's best for you, but if there's any part of you that thinks you should transfer, if you're Rodemaker, I think you got to do it. Like, you're just really hurting your team. And I know they're looking at bringing in DJU or Cam Ward or whatever, but I have to imagine he got a lot of reps with the ones, Mac.
Right.
Throughout their prep. So that also is interesting. Yeah.
And just the I'm not mad at him for transferring. Like, it is what it is. You totally have to do what's best. But if you're saying you're doing a business decision and you're getting in because that's best for you, getting in after every other quarterback is in is not best for you. These spots are full. Like, it's filling up very quickly. I went to the On3 transfer portal tracker. There's like 100+ quarterbacks in, and you're just now getting in. You know,
I didn't know
Christmas
that.
Day.
Jeez.
It's just like, what are we doing? What the timing of it is bizarre to me, but is what it is. And you're right. I don't know. I don't know how many reps he took with the first team, and now is it a similar situation? So that part is bizarre. But again, I've got to think there's something up their sleeves. I got to think that they're going to have something that they feel relatively confident about. And you know what is that going to be? Or is it saying, hey, our defense is this good? I know Jared Verse isn't playing. I know Green's not playing. We've got other cats that are ready. We've got other guys that are proven. And this is going to be a very uncomfortable, old school type of game. That, number one, I think Georgia can play that. I think they're fine doing that. But who can go the distance? And what happens? Is it a turnover? Does someone score defensively? Special teams, a big shifting play. That I think is the only way that Florida State can possibly think about winning this game. They can't keep up. I mean, it's just is what it is. I mean, outside of a miracle happening, if the game is played in the 30s, I don't think Florida State can get to the 30s. Okay, you know what I'm saying, and beyond. So they've got to play elite defense to be in this game.
Yeah, it's got to be ugly. They've got to force turnovers. They have to make some plays defensively. They have to score defensively. And I will say this, Mac, I didn't feel like Georgia's offense looked amazing versus Alabama when they didn't have Brock Bowers. So there is that. They've looked a little pedestrian without Brock Bowers offensively. You also think about the Georgia Tech game.
Yeah.
And I believe McConkey is back. He's going to be able to play. So that he was also hurt against Bama and was in and out, and that was a struggle for them too. So without Bowers, I don't think the offense is going to blow you away, but it's still going to be much more serviceable, at least from what we think, than Florida State. So I think it's got to be a defensive game. You have to force some turnovers. You have to just make this game weird and ugly. Yeah. But when you look at the spread, 19,
big number.
My first thought is to take FSU to cover.
Come on, do it.
Because that's a big number. And I feel like this defense is good enough.
Yeah.
And it's 19. Like,
I know. But could you see 20-0 though? I mean, I could see that for sure. Just ugly, nasty game. Maybe a touchdown late.
I have to believe that this FSU team is not going to just roll over.
Yeah.
I really don't think they are.
Yeah.
I think that the culture has shifted so much, and they still have enough guys defensively that just, yeah. Give me the Noles to cover.
Come on. I like it. Here's the deal.
You're not doing it though?
No, I am. I'm with you. I've heard great things about Holmes. He just hasn't, had his opportunity because the guy's in front of him. I think Ja'Kai Douglas can be spotty where he can be a guy that we can make some stuff happen there. Portier, we've seen him play. I mean, he's a good player. Hakeem Williams, really talented guy. I think a 5-star. Destin Hill, excuse me. Like, there's pieces that are there that I think can make something happen, that can make some things happen. Kyle Morlock, the tight end. it really does come down to quarterback. And can Glenn be ready to go? I don't think there's any rain. I'm knocking on wood right now in the forecast. That wasn't the case in Louisville against Louisville in the championship. It was a nasty, misty rain where that's difficult. And then can he use his legs a little bit more effectively too? He's mobile. He's not Jordan Travis, but he's better than the other option that they have there with Rodemaker.
But he's also your only scholarship quarterback.
Hey, run him. Run it.
Okay, all right.
We got to win the game. All right, we got to win the game. So whatever it takes.
If he gets hurt, I guess you just run a wildcat. You just do whatever.
Just put someone else in there. Just let it roll. But I do think the defense, like I said, I mean, they have to have another ACC championship caliber game where that team just played perfect. And, to see what a guy like Braden Fisk, can he stack 2 unbelievable games together back to back? Because he's had a great season all year long. And it hasn't been showing up in the stat sheet like it did in the ACC championship game, but can he just wreak havoc and I mean, force the issue there, get the football, those 2 great linebackers that they have flying around. It's going to be interesting, and they're going to have to play pretty close to perfect. But I think this team, like you said, the just the culture, the belief, I think that it's there, and I hope that they show up with an attitude, and we'll see. So that's going to be fun. I'm with you, KG. I'm taking the Noles to cover. I don't want to say it'll take a miracle to win, but it might. And I'm taking the under too, 44.5. I think it's going to be under that. I think it's going to be a nasty defensive
Interesting.
game.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that too. Well, we, of course, have you covered here with this preview, but Mac and the boys will be down there with ACC Network all day long giving you coverage. So make sure you guys tune in. Then more to come. We will not speak to you guys before the new year. So we just want to say Happy New Year. And Mac, honestly, everybody, thank you guys for making 2023 unforgettable.
No question.
Best year we've had for the show, for the pod, for just our numbers on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts, everywhere else. We can't thank you guys enough. And of course, our amazing sponsor, Ingles, who makes this thing happen.
That's right, KG. I love it. So see you next year. See you next year, everybody.
Let me add this. They won't see this because they don't care, because they don't watch any of this probably. But I'd like to thank our spouses because they have really helped us, put up with us, allowed us to record at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. at night, whatever else. So shout out to them.
Big shout out to Nick. Big shout out to Khaki. Couldn't do it without them. Absolutely.
And again, they don't watch this, so it's fine.
That's right. They just support. They just count the checks when they roll in, baby. That's right. That's right. Anyway, hey, we appreciate you guys. As KG said, appreciate Ingles. And that's it from us. Big shout out to FSU. Excited to be down there with them, see this game. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Coach, for being on here, sharing some of your time. And thank you guys, again, for tuning in. But we continuously need your help. Jump over to YouTube if you're not here. You got to get on this party. We have so much fun. Subscribe. Leave some comments. Noles fans, I was begging for it. I need to hear a bunch of your reactions, a bunch of your thoughts. And we'll dive in again into the new year and be excited to break down this ACC season. And, of course, the OGs over on Apple Podcasts as well. Rate, review, subscribe there. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.